Hello and welcome. You are watching News9 Live. I am Krishna Kumar, and at this moment, it's time to put the focus on a story from India's startup universe. A story like no other. When Indian startups are talking about the difficulty in finding funding in a so-called winter of discontent where many startups are finding it difficult to get people to invest in them and continue investing in them. There was one such startup in the Silicon Valley of India, the city of Bengaluru, known for its legacy of creating entrepreneurs, churning out entrepreneurs over decades. And in Bengaluru city, one startup founder, believe it or not, found funding from none other than his own landlord. And today we have both of them on the show, so let's get straight ahead. In Bengaluru, Pawan Gupta, co-founder and CEO of Betterhalf.ai, was looking for funding, and Sushil Shetty, his own landlord, came to the rescue and helped fund his matrimonial startup. Here's, ladies and gentlemen, it's a matrimonial startup that is based on artificial intelligence. I have enough and more questions to Pawan on what the startup is all about, but the beauty is that we have both Pawan Gupta, co-founder and CEO of Betterhalf.ai, and Sushil Shetty, the angel investor who invested in Pawan Gupta's startup, also his landlord, both joining us. Mr. Sushil Shetty, Mr. Pawan Gupta, thank you so much for taking time to be with us here on News9. Pawan, I'm going to begin with you. Just tell me, what was it like when you got that message from him that, here you go, $10,000. What did it feel like? What was going on before it and what happened after it?
Okay, so I did feel good about it. That's first. So it was a journey. I think 3 weeks of educating Sushil on investments, the calculated risk. I think answering a lot of questions. So I didn't approach with the view that I have to take the investment. It was more of in the educational approach and see whether it's his comfort factor to do it. And then that happened quite quickly. So when he confirmed. But since we know each other for 2 years and 3 weeks discussing the company, it was I would say smooth conversation that happened. But anytime any investments happen, whether small and big, you do feel good because you can fund the company and you can fund experiments. Some of them become largely successful. Most of them, if they fail, you have funding, to cover it, for a longer term view, of running the company.
Right. I want to ask, I'm asking this because was it a time when you were looking for funding, finding it difficult? Did the conversation with Sushil begin with the thoughts of funding, or was it just a general conversation that began and ended with getting funding?
Okay, so the story is Betterhalf announced Series A in the month of March. So I think it was 9 months of intense fundraising. That was very, very hard. I think, as you state, right, so economic downturn, we stayed patient because our P&L was strong. The market was actually evolving in the right direction. The product was pretty strong. When that happened, I think the request that started coming in from fans and community members that would want to participate as well. So in US, you can legally raise funding through crowdsource means. I think up to $5 million. And actually, I had to delay WeFunder campaign for 6 months. And then when we opened it because of relationship, that's when I reached out to anybody whom I know. It wasn't about the check size. It was about for them to be part, of the venture. They could be in. And I think when that happened, so generally for anybody whom I wouldn't know, I wouldn't have time to take or explain. But if anybody I would know, then I would move to the educating mode, on the company. And it's not really about, hey, this is the check size that I need. This is about, hey, how we're doing. Let's see if this gets you excited. That's what happened, in the last 3 weeks. 3 weeks of process where Sushil, invested, in the company.
All right. Stay with us. Let me take this across to Mr. Sushil Shetty. Now, Mr. Sushil Shetty, joining us from the US. Thank you so much for taking time out. Here is the deal. You're already, and the only thing I didn't say in the beginning is that you're already an angel investor who invests in startups. But until Betterhalf.ai came around, you had never invested in an Indian startup. So in a sense, it was a debut for you as far as investing in an Indian startup was concerned.
I just want to add, I didn't know that Sushil has ever invested in any startups before.
Wow. Just like the audience who's watching this show, who's thinking, here's a landlord who's funded a startup founder, but hold on a second, he's already an angel investor, and that the startup founder did not know when he first met him. Wonderful,
No,
fascinating.
I
Sushil,
came to
please
know
go
probably
ahead.
a week ago on this. Yeah.
So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I think the biggest challenge when I started talking to Pawan about this was as you mentioned, I was really new to the Indian investing arena, the startup space. I have invested in a few companies here in the US, but not much. And so I was just kind of treading the water very cautiously, trying to figure out if this is the right move to do, and then what better to do, what better place to start than a person who right? So Pawan, once he joined as a tenant, and then we started talking about his company, and then I started understanding what he did. And then for me, investing again, I'm not a huge risk taker, but at the same time, I think I'm in a generation that likes to kind of venture out into taking some risks. So I like to call it calculated risk. And so what better to start off with a person who So I started talking to him and understanding a little bit about the company, about himself, and not only that, I think with Better Half, I think as a human race, we still believe in love, right? We still want to believe in falling in love, and the
Oh,
marriage and the
absolutely.
institution and the institution of marriage is still really strong in India. I still believe, and so the only challenge is with the newer generation. Uh, 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 there are more working professionals in the industry, and so they don't have as much time to dedicate to this. And so having a one-stop shop where you can not only start off with matchmaking, but also take it all the way till the end. I think that is huge for the newer generation. I think, and they want to be independent as well. And I think parents want to be a part of that journey as well. And so I think you can bring it all with Betterhalf AI. And I think it's, as I said earlier, it's a one-stop shop for the newer generation couples.
Right. Good time to then understand what Betterhalf.ai is all about. Pawan, talk to us. A matrimonial startup based on artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence to supersede human intelligence even while finding a spouse slash partner.
Okay, so we do give control over to the users. So Betterhalf started as India's first matrimony app without payments. That's how our journey started. Today, officially, we are the fourth largest matrimony player in India in terms of our revenue, in terms of our MAU. But what happened, I think, 2 years back when we went to Y Combinator, I think it just generally pushes you to have even bigger goals, bigger ambitions. And I think that's when we start thinking about ecosystem of products for this audience. So if you think of a bride and groom and anything that they need to decide and facilitate their journey, which is the large one is the marriage matchmaking, and then usually 9 months, 12 months in the process, it comes the wedding. So these two are large problems, that comes in. So we're able to plug this thing together in a horizontal stack. If you go to Betterhalf today, if you're a working professional, we operate in 30, 40 cities of India. So you can go, through AI, you are exposed to single click matching. So we hold a US patent on that. So just based on your name, gender, date of birth, we predict your religion, community, language, 16 other demographic traits about you and your expected partner. And that's when we give you recommended profiles, which you can change based on your preference. So the control always lies with you. But then there's a behavioral matching as well, which we call it compatibility matching. So it's a mix of factual as well as behavioral traits that's actually used in the matching algo. Again, the larger the control will be with the users. We want to just shorten the journey, shorten the rejection rate, so that they have more and more conversations, useful conversations with people. But then after that, if you want to verify anybody, you can verify someone else's employment record, education record, if they have given this information to Betterhalf. So by offering this information, we get the consent. The next is, you can opt for astrology services. So talk to astrologer, chat with astrologer is just, I think it's just about live, but talk to astrologer is live, where you can talk about your marriage questions, love, relationships, questions, sometimes also career, jobs, and other things that you talk about. Then finally comes the wedding stack, where today you can book venue, decorators, photographers, mehendi, makeup. And I think now with our huge set of suppliers in Bangalore, if your wedding is up to 48 hours, and if you have not booked anything, we have the capacity, to do your weddings, hassle free and in an
Wow.
affordable way, for you.
So you're a perfect solution for last minute weddings, for last minute, alliances that come up. Fascinating, fascinating. This way, all that tension that people take over weeks and months of putting that wedding together. You're telling us that there is a solution for it. Sushil Shetty, that's another fascinating aspect of this entire business, isn't it? Whatever market goes down in India, the wedding market never goes down. In that sense, you're absolutely right. I agree with you. It's a fascinatingly calculated bet. But the point here is that you're investing in an artificial intelligence-based startup in India, whereas the original font of all wisdom about artificial intelligence is where you are sitting. It's in the US.
I think even though artificial intelligence is kind of kicked off here in the United States, I'm not too sure where it started in the world, but it's growing a lot here in the United States. I mean, you talk about AI, everybody wants to work in AI, everybody wants to do stuff in AI, want to study AI. So I think what better way to also bridge that gap between AI and the biggest, I would say, the institution in India, which is marriage, and bring them both together. I think technology and the most traditional institution in India matching up together. What better match, right? It's like better half kind of integrating with finding its match, right? It's like better half finding its own match.
I'll just
So
add that I think
I think
very
that's a
important
huge,
to
All
that's
right,
very
Pawan wants to say
interesting,
something.
right?
Sushil, just hold on. Pawan, go ahead.
yeah, it's very important to marry the tech stack, which you can call, right, AI, to the utility, especially for the India market. And we think, like, we are not here to fundamentally change the user behavior. They're used to paying to, let's say, to any matrimonial site, or let's say a marriage agency or a bureau. They're used to paying to, astrologers. They're used to paying to gifting, or they verify each other, or they book venue. So that payment is already going through. It's just that it's not streamlined. In many cases, it's fragmented, not standardized. It's a hassle-free process. It's not transparent. That's what using product, we are actually making it more efficient for people. We have to be very, very mindful that it has to be affordable. So I think we always talk a stack about low pricing at a mass scale, highly convenient, of a professional behavior have to be there, and a fast turnaround time. So these are the stacks that we continue to use for all our categories within the marriage and wedding ecosystem.
All right, all right. So we're getting too technical on this whole thing now. Let's get back to the fundamental reason why we are all having this conversation. A landlord funded a startup founder tenant. That's the story, is the headline, ladies and gentlemen. Sushil, I want to understand, how did your family react? How did your friends react? You've been an angel investor. You have other angel investor friends. How did they take the news when you told them that, hey, that tenant I told you about, I'm actually funding his startup?
I think everybody found it pleasantly surprising, and they were like, wow, I mean, you're getting a lot of coverage as a result of this. I was like, that wasn't intentional. I mean, I just did it because I wanted to, I believed in the product, I believed in the person. And I think the interesting part which happened, which I want to share with y'all, is as a result of this, I suddenly started getting, I think I have like 654 LinkedIn invites. Okay. And is that people wanting to really truly want to be connected with me as a network, or do they just want my money, so
Sushil, they want to rent your
I
house.
know,
that
I
was
know that.
this is a
I
funny
feel you,
story on the
Sushil. I
side.
feel you, Sushil, on that. Well, Pawan, did that happen to you with your social media, with your LinkedIn? More people asking for Sushil's number?
Some of them in a funny way. Like, hey, who is your landlord? Can you connect me to him? I'm also looking for funding. But I'll tell you what happened. During this weekend, I had, I think, certain personal things to do. So I didn't know for a good period of time that this was in news. Sushil definitely didn't know. So I was the one who updated him about this. So for 24 to 48 hours, and I was told by my team, Pawan, you got to actually share this, and you got to message this. So that's what was happening. But I think post 2 days of when a lot of people started talking about, that's when I started sharing it to Sushil. That, hey, a lot of people are talking about, and that's when I think he also, I think, agreed that he should be. It was not disclosed that that's Sushil. So I think the next week we were able to disclose that he is the person who invested.
it,
What
it, it
about the
was
people who've
pleasantly
already...
surprising. I mean, I was overwhelmed.
Wonderful. and to the point where you're actually taking time out to have this conversation with us again, and despite all the social media fame that you both have got already, Pawan, I wanted to ask you, what happened to the people who were funding you before? What was their reaction, when you realized the fact that, hey, I've just gone ahead and I've gotten a complete different person to fund this project?
So this was, I'll tell you. So I think most of our time actually goes in employees and customers. So I think this was a good topic of discussion. I think a lot of people came to know about what we do. So look, we have been doing this for 5 years, right? So we have been in the industry. So we're more focused on like staying, away from limelight, keep doing your work. That's what is the culture in what Betterhalf. But I don't think apart from the employees or something, we had certain kind of like a depth conversation with our investors about this. Obviously, they were happy about that. Okay, it's good that now the work is being recognized, in the ways that we didn't predict. But I think, I think I'll just, just continue to focus on what we'd like to do, our customers and employees. Is going to be the main focus.
Sushil, you've had a journey as an investor before this event happened. You can call this an event now. It's really had made a lot of people smile. Whoever reads this on social media, they have a smile on their face, just like me when I first read about it. I want to understand, in your journey as an investor, when you look at India and the startup story in India, so much is being said about it. In terms of, and you're talking about you funded. A startup in the Silicon Valley of India. I mean, again, it's a cliche, but of all the startups you chose in India, you found one in Bengaluru. Bengaluru as a city, has been churning out, so many entrepreneurs and has been the bedrock of startups and entrepreneurship in the country. Talk to us your views on India's startup ecosystem.
So I'm born and brought up in Bengaluru, right? So I've been in Bengaluru for almost 26 years before I came to the United States. So for me, Bangalore is home. Bangalore will always be home, and so I have very close ties to Bangalore. So for me, if I ever had to do a startup investment for the first time in India, it would have to be in Bangalore.
And it was.
So and it was. So I think the journey was just it was finding the right match, and also they say, right, being at the right place at the right time. So Pawan happened to be a tenant, and he happened to be a person who could be talked to, very knowledgeable about not only the business side of things, because he was very good with the numbers side, but also with the passion. I mean, when you listen to him on the show right now, I mean, he is very passionate about the product, and so that is very important as a startup, is to be passionate about your product, but also understand the numbers, right? Because it's a business. So I think he has both those aspects to him, and that's what really
Right.
gravitated me towards me investing in him, and also the ability to take a product from what it started off with just a matchmaking part, and now make it a full package, right? Where you're not only just matchmaking, but then taking on the next step and the next step and next, and then finally having the couple together in a bond of marriage, right? Which is huge.
Right. Pawan, I was about to say you were in the right place at the right time, but Sushil believes that he was in the right place at the right time. Fascinating that he would say that. I want to ask you one very important thing. In terms of your own startup and your own existence in Bengaluru, talk to us about how do you feel about being a startup founder in India today?
So I'll tie you to a previous question as well. So when I posted about this was largely, I think a lot of people who had ambitions to either start up or they were already starting up, they did reach out. So I think in my LinkedIn post, which I did share, I think it went to close to 800K. I think reach, that happened. I think probably not sure, like 5K or 10K comments or something, or engagement that actually happened. So a lot of people were able to appreciate this, and I was trying to encourage that it's actually good. That more and more stakeholders are coming, for I think one ambition, that the founder has to, bring in. I think Bangalore is a city. I can tell you this is one of the best places in India. So I think South India, if you look into that, right, largely it's very techie audience. The culture is more collaborative. you'll, and also the ethics level, people are quite high. So I think when, let's see, tenant is usually right, techie, just thinking about this, you can develop some products faster, get it to customers. But landlord also, let's see, has done the similar things. So, most of the landlords, here are working in organized industries and mid to senior level of roles. So usually those discussions are quite professional. That's what you expect, for most of them. And when they're more exposed to the startup scenario, the VC scenario, or investing scenario, it's easier to actually relate to it. Coming to, I think, Sushil's point, I think I was also lucky. Both of us should feel lucky. In the negotiation, it's very important that both of you feel good about that negotiation. So I think he was visiting India, for a week, and that's the time we happened to actually meet each other. And then it's in-person meeting is when kind of a lot of things actually change.
Oh,
So
that's very
I think
important, isn't
what I
it,
see that this
Sushil?
dynamic. Yeah.
After all the talking, that in-person meeting is what essentially seals the deal even today. Even in the world of all kinds of Zooms and Google meetings, the in-person meeting is what seals the deal. Important lessons that people who are pitching for funding that they need to take. Sushil, there's talk of winter of discontent that we just came across. Now we're in summer, startup funding becoming scarce. Clearly, I'm asking to the man who's just funded his tenant, in India or across the world. Your views on how startup funding is shaping up?
One thing I do believe is that people are right now sitting on a lot of money. I mean, I'm not a huge investor. I don't claim to be a huge investor. I'm a very, very small investor in a big ocean. But I think what I do hear is that a lot of people are sitting on a lot of money, and it's just about them finding the right match, so to speak, right? The right match. And so it's important to find the right match and find the right person and the founders and the people that believe in it, and have that conversation. So to Pawan's point, I think when I did meet him, that I would say made or cemented my thought about wanting to invest as well, because then you meet the person, you meet the family, right? You understand, and then it's all about relationships, because I still do believe life goes on, and is much more fruitful when you have good relationships, and I think that's what this is all about.
Right. Pawan, talking about, the scarcity in startup funding and, difficulties in finding funding, there are two ways of looking at to what happened to you. One is that, there's so much funding that even landlords are giving money. Or there is not enough funding that you need to ask your landlord for money now for startups. Which is
Yes.
true, Pawan?
I think it's true. So first of all, look, starting especially first few years, when usually you just have an idea, right? Nobody really believes in the idea, right? And till the time of your first product market fit, like product, customers, and revenue, that's when the first thing that any external stakeholder whom you don't know starts validating this. But in this time, it's very, very important that the people that your friends, your classmates, your landlord, your colleagues. I'll tell you, right? It's at MIT, right? It's something. It wasn't that I was a great grade builder or something, but I did bond with a group of folks in my class that ended up starting up companies in the past. When we graduated, and I think those are the people who did invest. In when Betterhalf started, so I did reach out to them. In fact, my first investor was the one actually. He was filing my taxes. So I reached out to him, and he invested. I think he put in the first investment. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. So I think the first set of checks should always come from people who believe in it, which is, it's not the idea, because no idea can change. You can pivot, all of these things can happen. But they're like, okay, it's investing in this. They want to figure it out. So that's what it happened. But I think still today, when the opportunities actually come, I don't skip that option. I highly encourage other people, especially in Bangalore and any, let's say, city that they're starting up, reach out to as many folks that and they should be, if you're able to convince, which anyways you have to learn that art over time. You should be able to convince them. Whatever actually investments that you're getting, just be reasonable on the valuation and this, and then use it to get to the product market fit. After that, usually the institutional investors pick it up. First 2-3 years is when there is less than 1% chances of survival. So I think we want to use all of these resources at your disposal.
All right, but simple question. In the year 2023, if you are a startup in India and you have a great idea and you have good numbers to back up that idea, is enough funding available or not?
My answer is yes. So I can tell you, right? Even in my last round, over the last 5 years, many mid to senior level people, actually who have moved out or they're still working, they have become professional angel investors, and I've seen it across companies. Ex VPs, ex VP urban company, ex director of product management, Nanjo, or like folks like, or let's say from Byju's, or if you think on any large company, ex Nika, you tell the company name and they are professional angel investors today. Just it goes through proper forums. It's usually faster in India. Like Let's Venture, Angel List, those two are large forums. That's there. But now the first check is not a problem. I think you have to be convincing enough that you're passionate about this. You have been working for some period of time, and you have an edge. You have some kind of defensibility, and you can build a team around it. I think those are I think minimum I would say that somebody would be looking to get convinced. But the first check, first 100K to 250K, that's not a big problem in India anymore. If you use the money well, I think it can survive for 18, 24
All
months,
right.
for the startup journey. So I'm fairly optimistic that the timing is right, despite the bad economic scenario, globally, including, let's see, India.
All right, so there is absolutely no shortage of funding for the right ideas, for the right startups. That's the clear message from Pawan Gupta. Sushil, my point is at this stage is that, one thing that just struck me is this, all that investment that you made sort of also makes up for the rent that he is supposed to pay you on a yearly basis. Is it more, or which one is more? Just a mental calculation at the back of the envelope calculation. Which one's more?
I think I'll be very diplomatic in this answer, and I'll say we try to keep the professional side of things professional, and then the personal side of things personal. So I think compartmentalizing those two things is very important, and I
Oh
think
my goodness,
Pawan's done a great
fantastic.
job with that too. So I think I appreciate that. And going back to what Pawan was saying about the right timing, I think as a generation too, I think Indians are starting to get a little more good at taking risk, and I think we are traditionally not a community of taking risk, risk takers. And so as we start getting into taking a little more risk, I think startups are coming at the right time, where you can try to invest in trust in the product and all of that. And I think, again, I'm not saying going to say that all startups are going to be huge successes, but at the same time, it's a good risk. It's like people invest in the stock market nowadays without thinking twice, right? But that's a huge risk too. So I would say, think about startups, and about supporting your local community. Sometimes those products go a long way.
I want to
Right.
add something. I want to add something about the
Please
community.
go ahead.
So, uh, I think it's very important. Like when we think about, let's see, uh, anyone should not start a venture because we think it's going to create a lot of wealth for you, and largely it won't. There has to be something beyond that. That's going to like keep you excited for a very very long time period. So when that happens, let's say an industry that excites you, a domain that excites you, some of the personal problems or problems that you have faced and you have not found great solutions. These are usually good reasons that why is right. Then post that, if you are able to also, in theoretically, you are think that is going to lead to a wealth creation, that's an amazing thing because it should. When there is a wealth, it has to be then distributed. Fast forward now, we employ close to like 125, 150 people. If you look into HSR as a community, we're one of the top employers. If you look into this top 50 employers of this, I think this entire area, like 1 kilometer area, we're on the top employers. But let's see, fast forward 3, 5 years, it better have employees 1,000 people, 1,000 families are going to run because of that. And in a large scheme of things, right? India, yes, $3.5 trillion economy heading towards $5 trillion economy. But if you just contribute your small part of it, for this, it's also a larger purpose. So great product, huge industry, wealth creation, but the jobs creation, has to happen. And usually, if you stay in a job, you're just counting on somebody to do that for you. So that's kind of like a very short-centered view to do that. But if you have some risk appetite and you think we're heading right.
Right.
In long term, like I'm talking about a 5, 8, 10-year window, I think one of them.
Right. Certainly. Startup India, Stand Up India message coming through clear from Pawan Gupta over there. Don't wait for somebody to give you a job. Go out there, create yours and many others as well. This is the message coming in from Pawan Gupta, co-founder and CEO of Betterhalf.ai, artificial intelligence-based matrimonial startup out of Bengaluru that has just got funding from Mr. Sushil Shetty, angel investor, and also the landlord of Mr. Pawan Gupta. Pawan, Sushil, thank you so much for taking time out to speak to us here on News9 Live and sharing your thoughts. Wonderful having you here. Wishing both of you all the best. Sushil, in your journey as an investor, and Pawan, in your journey with Betterhalf.ai as well. Wishing you all the success. Thank you so much for speaking to News9 Live.
Thank you so much.
Right. And with that, we wrap things here on Startup Tales. One miracle of a tale over there, the tale of a landlord who funded his startup founder tenant. Thank you so much for watching. This is Krishna Kumar signing off. Keep it with News9.